Tonight, protesters and politicians make final attempts to halt a vote on Israel's judicial reforms. Reinforcements arrive in the fight against Greece's fires. Climate activist Greta Thunberg appears before a Swedish court. And the government's plan to give casual workers a pathway to permanent employment. I'm Rena Sarampayat. This is SBS World News. Good evening. Israel's parliament is tonight starting to vote on legislation to reform the judiciary. A last-ditch effort by the opposition for a compromise had earlier failed. For months, the proposed changes have prompted tens of thousands of people to protest, at times causing major disruptions.
After 7 months of protests, tempers flared. Israelis enraged over plans by Benjamin Netanyahu's Conservative coalition to overhaul the judicial system.
We fear we've gone down to a dictatorship and we want to show in a way of performance how it would look.
The changes would give Parliament the final say in selecting judges and allow a simple majority in Parliament to overturn Supreme Court decisions. Legislation before lawmakers today includes an additional bill that would limit the ability of judges to strike down government decisions they deem to be unreasonable. The government argues the reforms are needed to curb judicial overreach, but critics say they threaten democracy as the Supreme Court is the only source of scrutiny on the government's use of its power. Protesters were camped outside the Knesset as Prime Minister Netanyahu arrived just hours after he had a pacemaker fitted. Inside Parliament, the opposition leader echoed their sentiments.
We're headed for disaster. If you vote today on this bill, you are bringing the end of the People's Army closer. You strengthen Israel's enemies. You harm the security of the State of Israel.
But not everyone's opposed to the plans. In Tel Aviv, pro-reform protesters made their voices heard.
I'm here today to make it clear to the people that I've elected, to the people that I voted for, to the people that I support, that I am 100% in favour of this judicial reform. I think my country needs it.
In recent weeks, many reservists have boycotted the country's service duty in a show of defiance. 3 former army chiefs of staff and dozens of senior security officials have also expressed their opposition. Kath Landers, SBS World News.
Romanian firefighters have arrived on the Greek island of Rhodes to help in the fight against blazes ravaging the area. The group is made up of 52 soldiers and several firefighting vehicles. They're joining Greek and Slovak firefighters working to contain 82 wildfires across Greece, 64 of which started yesterday. Authorities say some 19,000 people have been evacuated from several locations on the island. Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg has been fined an unspecified amount after being found guilty of disobeying a police order last month to leave a climate rally. Thunberg was part of a group of protesters that blocked the road for oil trucks in southern Malmö harbour. In court tonight, the 20-year-old admitted disobedience but pleaded not guilty, saying she'd acted out of necessity. Spain's right-wing parties have failed to gain the expected support in Sunday's snap election. The country's parliament appears headed for political gridlock, with neither main party, on the left or right, able to secure a majority. Despite the inconclusive result, both sides have claimed success, but forming government could now see weeks of drawn-out negotiations.
Celebrations for the country's Conservative People's Party after winning 136 seats in the Parliament, but falling short of securing an outright victory.
Nuestra obligación ahora es que no se abra un periodo de incertidumbres en España. Los españoles hoy nos han dado la confianza en el Partido Popular y también han dicho a todos los partidos del arco parlamentario que dialoguemos.
Despite finishing in second place, Socialist Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez's party also celebrating the outcome, receiving 122 seats of the 350 in the Congress of Deputies, Spanish Parliament's lower house, a result better than many polls had predicted.
Creo que España ha sido bien clara. España y todos sus ciudadanos que han votado han sido meridiana y rotundamente claros. El bloque involucionista de retroceso que planteaba una derogación total de todos los avances que hemos logrado durante estos últimos 4 años ha fracasado.
Negotiations will now take place to form a coalition, but there's a real possibility neither side will be able to secure a majority, meaning a hung parliament is likely. That is, even if the Socialists can rely on the 31 seats from the left-wing Summa alliance. And on the other side, potential kingmaker, the far-right Vox party, has 33 seats, the third largest force in Parliament, but a potential link-up with the People's Party would still see it falling short of the 176 seats needed for a majority.
De preocupación. Hoy es un día de preocupación porque no hemos logrado nuestros objetivos para echar a Pedro Sánchez del Palacio de la Moncloa, muy probablemente.
After millions of Spaniards voted, the democratic process proving Spain is a country well and truly divided.
Todos somos españoles. Y digo, no puede ser que haya un partido que quiera que volvamos a una dictadura. Y eso no podemos permitir.
Idílicamente, ojalá hubiera un verdadero pacto de Estado y un pacto entre los partidos, pero yo creo que aquí cada uno va a mirar por coger el asiento y como española la verdad que me duele, pero bueno, a celebrar y a ver qué pasa y ojalá haya diálogo y sentido común.
A new parliament is due to be installed next month, and only then will the next Prime Minister be voted on. If no candidate is able to secure a majority within 2 months of the first vote on the Prime Minister, new elections must be held. Virginia Langeberg, SBS World News.
At least 11 people have died after the concrete roof of a school gymnasium collapsed in China's Qiqihua city. The school's female volleyball team was training at the time of the incident. 19 people were inside the gym when the collapse occurred. Authorities say the illegal stacking of materials on the roof may have caused the incident. An investigation is underway. At least 15 people have died in an overnight ferry disaster off Indonesia's Sulawesi island. Their grieving relatives today gathered in a nearby hospital. Authorities say 33 other passengers have been rescued. The overloaded boat capsized while on a 20-minute journey between 2 small towns. The cause is being investigated. Well, a few hours ago, Australia's Minister for International Development and the Pacific arrived in Solomon Islands. Pat Conroy will meet his government counterparts, visit women trainees at an Australian-supported rural training centre and speak to students at the Solomon Islands National University. His visit coincides with the 20th anniversary of one of Australia's most successful foreign policy operations. The Regional Assistance Mission to Solomon Islands, better known as RAMSI, helped restore peace to the Pacific nation. Legal action against Australia's richest woman, Gina Rinehart, has begun in Western Australia. The heirs of her late father's business partner, as well as 2 of her own children, have launched civil proceedings seeking royalties from a multi-billion-dollar iron ore project. The stoush has been more than a decade in the making, taking close to 13 years to reach court.
Lang Hancock and Peter Wright, mining moguls who once led the pioneering partnership in Western Australia. Their 50-year alliance now under scrutiny as a dispute over the pair's claims to billions of dollars in iron ore deposits finally reaches the state's Supreme Court. In opening remarks, barrister John Rowland, acting for the Wright family, arguing their relationship is quintessentially one that involved a mutual obligation of loyalty, confidence, trust and good faith. The partnership dates back to business dealings between Lang Hancock and Peter Wright in the 1960s over mining interests in the Pilbara. The legal action challenging the right of Lang Hancock's daughter, Gina Rinehart, to royalties from the Hope Downs mine tied to her company Hancock Prospecting. Mr. Rowland telling the court Wright Prospecting has been denied their rightful share as a partner in those tenements. The Wright family company, now led by Peter Wright's daughter Angela Bennett and his grandchildren Leonie Baldock and Alexandra Burt. Gina Reinhardt's two oldest children, Bianca and John, also involved, seeking claims to the Hope Downs fortune they say their grandfather left to them. The stream of royalties flowing from the Hope Downs project also in the sights of the family company of deceased prospector Don Rhodes, claiming it's owed a 1.25% share in the interest co-owned with operator Rio Tinto. More than 24 lawyers were in attendance today as the high-stakes court hearing commenced. With billions of dollars in mining interests at stake, it's expected a resolution could take months to unfold. The major players themselves were not in attendance today. Lawyers representing Gina Reinhardt and her children are yet to present their case in court. Tom Stainer, SBS World News.
Well, still to come on the late news, a new power initiative in which neighbours store and share solar energy through a common battery.